And welcome back to another exciting edition of the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast. Yes, we are back in studio, our spacious, elegant studio here at the Louisville Northeast branch of the Free Public Library. Bringing you the joy and excitement of UofL women's sports. We're going to start today's show with 3 questions for you, dear listeners. First of all, whose season started yesterday? Second of all, whose season starts tomorrow? And third, whose season is over? Debate on those 3 things just a little bit there as we get on into it here. We express the joy and excitement of UofL women's sports, and we do it today with 3 people. Jared Anderson out throwing down rock salt and counting change at his employment this morning. But I got Case and Jeff in here with me. Case Hoskins, a man who wrote a brilliant and excellent article today at Cardinal Couple. Check out their website as he talks about Gigi Bryant. Case, what's going on, man?
Not much. I'm just happy to be back in studio and happy that the snow melted off quite a bit faster today than it did yesterday and didn't have to deal with any potential shenanigans on the roadways on my way in.
Would have rather not have it to start with, but yes, good that it melted.
We love to deal with shenanigans whenever we show up there. But you're speaking of a different shenanigans. Okay, all right, never mind. Also up here with me, the man who is in charge of the control board. He's slowly trying to learn how to put this part of his mastery of his domain with limited success, but he's working at it each day hard as he can. Jeff McAdams, what's up, man?
Yeah, the last outing we had wasn't great. We had a mic that wasn't getting through the audio interface. Got that sorted out. Now this mic that we have up here that is a very well-regarded mic in general sounds great at the audio interface, but it doesn't sound great when it gets to my computer. So I got to figure out what's going on with that. Fortunately, we don't have to use it, so I hope we have a good sound for you today.
Our IT guy's on top of it. So.
Yeah, it's.
And if you want to get in touch with Jeff directly about what you're hearing out there, we'll give you his Twitter information.
It's not hard as my name.
Yeah.
Just
Jeff McAdams or Card Couple Radio, whichever one you want to go with. I'm your third knucklehead up here. My name is Paulie. Glad to be back talking to you all again, and certainly been a busy last couple of days as far as UofL women's sports goes. We're going to keep you up on all that and catch you up on it. Plus do a little scheduling as well as we say a special thank you to those of you who read the website, who also listen to this podcast. One thing that we never forget is that you are a Cardinal Couple, and we certainly do appreciate you and for what you do as well. All right. So, point of the time of the show where we usually get into just a little bit of scheduling and Twitter information for the upcoming week. Since everything should be on the same page for you this week, Case, hopefully you'll be okay with that.
Yeah, I did already pull this up and made sure that I expanded all of the dates, which wasn't as helpful as you might expect since they now expand past the scroll bar of my screen.
Scroll up and down, yeah.
So
it's the busy time of year again, or one of the busy times of year.
Yes, indeed.
yeah, we've run into the wrap up of winter sports and into the onset of spring sports. And as always with these early season tournaments, that comes with multiple softball games in a single day. So we'll get right into it, starting with today. Rowing is actually taking on SMU in a scrimmage down in Dallas. So no official results from that, but they're at least in a warmer area than we are.
Hopefully.
You would think.
Yeah.
Softball currently in Clearwater, also in a presumably warmer area than here.
It was yesterday.
It was about 65 degrees yesterday, Case.
so
So,
real
they're
nice,
doing better than us.
Yeah.
They are currently underway against Texas State, trailing in that game. Last we saw, that game started at 10 a.m. And was in the 3rd inning, I believe. They're then taking on Mississippi State at 3 p.m. for their 4th game already of the season that just started yesterday. Men's basketball taking on Virginia at 4, hoping to snap a 9-game losing streak to the Cavaliers. Then softball wraps up their opening weekend tomorrow against Missouri at 10 a.m. to end the NFCA Leadoff Classic down in Clearwater. Men's tennis taking on Boston College at noon. Lacrosse opening their season at Cincinnati. That one will be available on Cincinnati's sidearm.
Was that Bearcat.com or
yeah,
something?
Bearcats TV.
Bearcat.com TV or something.
Yeah, Bearcats TV. There's a link in today's Cardinal Couple article if you get on there, and also available at the Go Card site to click through on that. Women's basketball taking on Syracuse as they hit the road again. That one's at 2 p.m. on ESPN2 tomorrow afternoon. and then men's tennis with a doubleheader as they take on Cleveland State at 4:30 at Bass Rudd. Men's golf getting their season underway in the Mobile Sports Authority Intercollegiate in Magnolia Grove, Alabama. That's Monday, Tuesday. Men's basketball with yet another late night midweek start as they take on Georgia Tech in Atlanta on Wednesday at 8 p.m. That one's through the ACC network. The women will follow that up with an 8 p.m. game of their own on Thursday on the ACC network when they take on NC State, which will be another ranked matchup for the Cards, I believe.
It's going to be probably the toughest conference game we have this year, kiddos.
So we'll potentially talk a little bit more about that one later on. Track in the Iowa State Classic, they're actually split in 3 places. Track is next Friday, so they're at Iowa State Classic, the Tyson Invitational in Fayetteville, and the Hoosier Hills Invitational in Bloomington. So a big split team event going on there. Then
In case I got to wonder, on that Tyson Invitational, is that like Tyson Chicken or is it Mike Tyson?
Probably Tyson Chicken.
I think it's more Tyson Chicken, yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to see it be Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
I don't think he's from Fayetteville.
Oh, he could still fly in.
He's just going to show up to the Tyson
This is
Invitational.
my invitational. Fee, fi, fo, fee. Go ahead.
Swimming is hosting the Louisville Invitational next week, starting on Friday. That is a TBA time, so if you just want to show up at the Ralph Wright Natatorium, they'll let you in whenever it starts, I guess. Softball then hosting, or they are not hosting, sorry. They are going to Chapel Hill to participate in the ACC Big Ten Softball Challenge. They'll open against Michigan at 11 a.m. on Friday and then take on Wisconsin later in the day at 4. And then baseball gets their season underway as they head down to Oxford, Mississippi to take on Ole Miss at 5 p.m. on Friday to open their season as it gets going. You know, I mean, it's spring season. We're getting towards the middle of February. Those softball and baseballers will stay away from campus for a while.
Stay in the warmer
stay
areas
in,
for a little
stay
while.
in the places where you can play baseball
Yeah.
in February. But that's it.
All right, and let's see, just reviewing Twitter information real quick. Why don't you run through us?
Yeah, so as Paulie mentioned earlier, Jeff, you can find at Jeff McAdams or at Card Couple Radio with all of your audio complaints.
Yeah.
As well as quips about Jeff Wall's tweets.
Yes.
Responding to other people who require a response.
I love dunks in women's basketball. What can I say?
Coach came in and definitely threw down some heat, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
But in a very innocuous way. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Got some attention for it, even
Yes,
at
he
the
did.
national
Yeah.
level. Yeah.
yes, he did.
Yeah. Deserved and positive.
I tweeted at Best Case Scenario and have been reliving some college basketball attendance days over the last few days on Twitter. It was interesting stuff happening. Paulie tweets is at Cardinal Couple, where he'll bring you all of his insight as the leader of our establishment here. And then Jared tweets is at Mr. Anderson Jared, as always bringing you the best photos from around here, from all sports, as well as getting to know a little bit more about the individuals that play as UofL student athletes, you know, because he is a photographer to the stars, as it were, both on the field and off.
I feel like I need some of that glitzy music, you know, like da 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 da.
It's like on Entertainment Tonight.
Yeah.
Jared Anderson, photographer to the stars, takes a picture of you and you don't even know it. Yeah,
That's true.
Jared is great on that stuff. We try to feature his work whenever we can, whenever he's at an event, and he's at a lot of events, y'all. So certainly, if you see him at somewhere, say hi to him. He's pretty hard to miss. He's the big, tall guy in glasses who wears white things to red out events. So you'll be able to catch him on all of those. Make sure and check out Jared's work too. As well. He writes a couple days a week for us here at Cardinal Couple, where we do the Joint Excitement of UofL women's sports. We've got a lot going on today, guys, and a lot of stuff happening. Like I mentioned, Case has already covered my first 2 questions today. Which sport started yesterday? That was softball.
Mm-hmm.
What sport does start tomorrow? That is, of course, lacrosse.
Mm-hmm.
And which sports season is done?
I think the regular season for swimming and diving finished, right?
No, this is not U of L related. I'll stop you there.
Oh.
I happened to come across on YouTube an incident between two dance teams.
Oh.
This was in East St. Louis,
Okay.
where actually at the East St. Louis Gymnasium, where they were playing Trinity Catholic of Missouri, not our Trinity Catholic.
Oh, I thought you were clarifying Missouri versus Kansas because apparently some people need that now.
Yeah, and they do indeed. Yeah. And where is Iowa?
Well, I took it there right quick.
Well, yeah.
We're not really sure.
No, we're not going to go there beyond that.
But it's a neat little gymnasium, and they've actually got our old Cardinal bird as their half-court logo.
Yeah.
You guys
Okay, I saw
remember the
that.
old bird?
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
Without the Adidas.
the St. Louis, East St. Louis dance team was doing some pregame routines, and the Trinity team was responding. And you know how that works. They'll do a routine, they'll kind of step forward and watch the other team do a routine, and then they'll kind of step back and step forward. It's
Do it,
back and forth.
usually in a sense of respect and honoring the other team.
Yeah, that's the way it's supposed to be, Jeff.
That's what it's supposed to be, yes.
Unfortunately, some of the girls from East St. Louis took exception to the routine that Trinity Catholic was doing in that ritual, and they just came out and started punching them. These are cheerleader girls. Okay, these are not guys. It's an all-female cheerleading staff, and they were over there throwing haymakers. They were piling on,
All right.
and what ensued was WWE holds barred showdown, smackdown right in the middle of the Cardinal bird, and then it proceeded over to the left-hand side of the court. It was hilarious to watch, and if you can find it on YouTube, do.
I mean, I'm not going to condone a fight like that, but if you're going to fight, take some swings, man.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, they piled up, and it looked kind of like a rugby match out there.
Yeah.
But as a result of that, the East St. Louis cheerleading staff decided, our season's over. You gals won't perform anymore the rest of the scholastic year. You're finished.
That seems like a fair and maybe appropriate punishment. So.
Them being, of course, the instigators of this, the girls
Right.
from Trinity Catholic, said that they were going to take it over further review and discuss it with the archdiocese. So, two different factors there, but wow, I mean, these girls, a couple of these girls could played football for either school. They were going in there and finding some stuff, but anyway, a humorous kind of thing. There you have all three questions answered, and we're only 12 minutes into the show, so how about that?
You mentioned people quitting after the result of an event such as that. It reminded me that yesterday was the 30th anniversary of Lisa Leslie dropping 101 points in the first half of her high school basketball game,
Right.
and the opposing team forfeiting at halftime and
That's
preventing her from gaining
actually recording that one.
from making the record. She did not get to make the record, which was 104. She would have been able to break it almost assuredly.
Yeah.
But they forfeited the game. The opposing coach was fired for for his lack of competitive spirit, and that was that.
Just 101 points. Go imagine.
I mean, I'm not sure I'd want to come back out there after getting 101 dropped on me in the first half. But, yeah, it's also kind of crappy to not
I think if you're getting
not let that get recorded.
I think if you're getting your butt whipped by a generational talent, you just got to own it.
Yeah. I
Right?
mean, yeah.
you just got to take it.
Yeah. But I think it's particularly I mean, I don't know what was in the dude's mind, but if it was, let me do this so it doesn't get recorded, that's pretty crappy. But I doubt that was probably the case. But
If you're the coach of the other team, though, I mean, don't you try to do something here to prevent her from scoring, like maybe holding the ball the entire shot clock when you're on offense?
Well, she took 56 shots in the first half, so you have to assume that they stole the ball from the opposing team a lot.
yeah.
56 shots and also 35 free throws.
Yes,
So
but maybe you try to do that, but it is Lisa Leslie.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
true.
try as you might. I don't think it was
Right.
working. I'm sure they were trying to not
sure
let
they
her
were trying
score
everything they
101
could.
points, Paul.
yeah.
What do you say during timeouts? Okay, we need to play a little better defense here. Let's see if we can work the ball inside and maybe score. What do y'all think? Is this an idea?
This Leslie person, he's going to get her points. You stop everybody else. I mean, that doesn't help.
So, Molly, come here off the bench. Your job is to get up at a 10-foot running start and headbutt her the next time she is on the court. Okay, that is your job.
Should just sink both free throws.
Yeah, and then go back to the locker room injured. But how about that? Woof, that's kind of 101 points. Wow, I don't think I scored that in my entire high school career. Far from it. Well, let's go ahead and jump on from there to UofL Women's Sports, who actually got things started back on Sunday with an exhibition for women's basketball. Team USA came to town in front of 12,000 people, came out and took on our Cardinals. And Case, did you watch any of that one?
I did not get the opportunity. No, I was studying for the professional engineering exam, having a good time doing that. I did look for tickets a bit too late, and by the time that I looked for them, there was no pair of seats available outside of the upper deck. And after sitting in the upper deck for UofL versus Duke last year, I decided that I would not submit myself to that any more times as long as I could help it. So
yeah, I don't like it much up there either. But Jeff, you were in attendance. Just some of your we won't spend a lot of time on this one. Some of your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think the amazing thing was just the degree to which, to me, the thing that struck me was the degree to which the U.S. national team, their pace of play. I'm used to UofL coming out there and being the faster team, pushing the pace, pushing it up the court, and just flustering other teams because of it for the most part. And at best, the other teams respond to it, but don't necessarily match it. Like I look at Florida State. Florida State responded to it well, but they didn't match that pace of play. The U.S. national team was pushing it on us. And that's like, you just don't see that. That there really are no other teams out there that really have the pace of play that we do, I don't think. And that was amazing to see. Sue Bird running down the court and keeping up with or outrunning Jazz Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just not many people that do that. And with all due respect to Sue Bird, because I'm a huge, huge fan of hers, there's a distinct age difference there.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
So that's
Bird's
pretty
pushing
impressive.
40, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she's amazing. She's awesome. But yeah, it's pretty impressive to still be able to hang with Jazz Jones' speed at that age. Absolutely.
yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that. I believe I recall seeing an Angel McCautry quote after the game talking about being surprised by UofL going out and trying to outrun the U.S. national team and saying, all right, well, you should pace yourself because we can do it better,
Right.
and they did.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
UofL not used to being on the receiving end of something like that, like you mentioned.
Yeah. That was really the big thing that stuck out to me in that game was pace of play.
One of the things that kind of sunk in with me is that after the game we were walking back for the post-game media, and they had tables set up where the players from both squads could sit there and sign autographs. Mm-hmm. The Cardinals were sitting at one of the tables as I walked by, and I could just kind of stop and talk to Dana Evans a minute, and I said, what's the thing that was most remarkable about this team to you? She just looked at me and batted those eyelashes and said, they are fast.
Yeah.
My God, they're fast.
Yeah.
And Kylie was sitting next to her, and Kylie just kind of nodded her head like,
Yep.
they're fast.
Yeah.
But, that one, it was an exhibition, so it doesn't count in the schedule. We certainly we had fairly decent games out of JS and also out of Dana in that one. But, when you take a look, we mentioned this in one of the articles, when you take a look at their bench, Team USA's bench, look at who you've got coming off the bench.
You got Kelsey Plum coming off the bench.
Yeah.
I mean,
the leading scorer in NCAA basketball of all time. You've got, 4-year All-American Brianna Stewart.
Right.
Bench player.
Right.
Yeah. Skylar Diggins-Smith.
Yeah.
Bench player. They did start Angel McCautry in that game. Mm-hmm. Angel fared well for herself. I do believe she did not go with the team as they traveled over to play their qualifying round, and I kind of put quotes around that because
they've already qualified.
Yeah, they've already qualified, and 3 of the 4 teams that are playing in this qualifier over in Serbia are going to qualify for the Olympics. So it's an odd man out right now. It kind of looks like it might be Mozambique.
Okay.
Is the one of the 4 that doesn't get in. That all depends on further action, I think. But we have, without Angel on the team, we do have a representative over there, albeit not playing for the United States, as we do have Elizabeth Balagoon playing over there for
I did
Senegal.
not realize she was an American.
Yeah. Oh no, there's a great story. You read her backstory.
Yeah, I hadn't dove into that, and when they mentioned that during the game Thursday, I was like, wait, what? And I started looking around. I'm like, oh wow, she really is. Okay, and I hadn't ever noticed that. So to me, she was from Georgia Tech, right? Which
Yeah.
is, of course, a school, not a location.
And
But,
then a previous
right, but
lad
that's
from
what
Tennessee.
I really knew
yeah.
about her, right? Yeah,
She was either Memphis or Chattanooga. I can't remember which.
right.
Because she was from one of the cities, and Liz Dixon's from the other city in Tennessee. They're both Tennessee girls who ended up at Georgia Tech.
There are more than 2 cities in Tennessee. By the way.
Yeah, well,
Are
no,
there?
Yeah. There,
Are we sure?
Yeah. Where's Knoxville?
There is no. There is Memphis. There's Chattanooga, and there's Gatlinburg, and that's all there
And
is
there's
in
Nashville.
Tennessee.
And
Nashville is like us. They're separate from the state. Nashville is its own little hemisphere right
Speaking
there.
of
Okay?
Memphis, welcome to Corky G. Back to
Yeah.
the south.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely so. But
Cool
yes,
for him.
that one was kind of, it was what it was. Selected members of the media, grumpy in nature, negative in thought, were asking Walls how badly this would affect the Cards being beat so soundly in their ACC schedule. And Jeff Walls kind of just laughed that off. He said, each one of these girls I played had a great time.
Yeah.
It was the experience of their basketball lifetime so far. Negativity? No, we don't have any negativity. We got to play the best in the world.
Yeah.
We got to have a Q&A with the best in the world. We got to watch the best in the world practice.
Yeah, so when I wrote my article last week, I was talking about the experience, but also the experiences that they had.
Yeah.
That whole weekend, really, because they had a whole weekend of work they were doing in and around the national team as well. It was, it's a great opportunity. There's so much learning. Even getting, even losing by 40 plus is still a learning experience and growing experience. So, yeah, I have no complaints.
And one of the most interesting things that came out of the Q&A with the team is that we found out that Sylvia Fowles is studying to be a mortician.
Huh.
After destroying people on the basketball court for so many years, now she is going into a career where she will help beautify them for their final goodbyes to their.
That seems appropriate.
It really does.
Yeah.
I kill them, now I'll make them look good.
That's right.
Yes.
I think what stands out to me the most about that game, Louisville turned the ball over 25 times, which sounds like they shot themselves in the foot a lot against a team as good as the USA. Then you scroll back up in the box score and you see they didn't really turn the ball over 25 times. USA stole the ball 17 times.
Yeah.
Louisville was just outmatched on defense, and that's the way it goes when you're playing, like we said, against the best players in the world in the women's game. I mean, they're going to turn you over on defense, and then they're going to make you pay for it, shooting 53%.
Yeah, and that's it. I think that's related to the pace of play I was talking about earlier, where UofL was doing things that they do against other college teams and generally works, and it wasn't against them. Passes that they can get through against other college teams. Sue Bird was there. Angel McCautry was there. I was about to say Diana Trostley. She didn't play that. They were able to jump in those lanes because of their experience and knowledge from having played so much more and so much more time on the court, and also just their quickness and thanks to their training and physical workouts that they do to be able to be quick like that other college teams just don't quite do. So yeah.
You spoke just briefly earlier of Donna Taurasi. Jeff Walls actually talked to her a little bit after the contest, got with her and said, What did you see in us? What can we do to be better? And Diana said, first off the bat, your body language. Said when you all went through that second quarter run that we put on you, your body language just immediately just turned as negative as it could be.
It's true. I noticed it as well.
And she said when her team came back over to the huddle after a timeout, she said, look at them. Look at their body language. Oh, we got them now.
Yeah.
And the Cards were. So Wallace has kind of worked on that as far as we know. And then moving on.
Don't know that it helped Thursday.
Yeah, my segue into that is we're not sure how effective that was on Thursday night as the Cards brought in very, very tough Florida State, a team that has given Louisville their share of fits over the last few years to play them in ACC play, a team that is, I think, firmly lodged in third place in the conference right now and could move up a little bit. They are now 8-4 in conference, top the conference, the Cards, and NC State. Just a half game separates them. NC State at 11-1. But Florida State came in with a little bit of an axe to grind, a little bit of a point to prove, and proceeded to join the Cardinals as one of the most frustrating and lack of production first halves I've seen in Louisville women's basketball in a long time. Guys, that first half was just ugly.
It was frustrating to watch. It really was. As much fun as I had losing with 40 plus to the U.S. national team, being in a close game against Florida State was far more frustrating to watch. Yeah.
Certainly, they had Debbie Antonelli in to do the analyst work on that. Her being the offensive guru of college basketball, she probably was not very happy with it, as Louisville scored a total of 17 points in the first half, to be topped barely by Florida State with 26 points. Guys, this was just the shots weren't falling. And if you want to just describe this game in a simple one-sentence phrase, Louisville could not make the shots they were attempting.
Yes, I would agree with that. I would also add, and I want to emphasize that I think this is unrelated, merely coincidental. It was also one of the worst examples of officiating in college basketball I've seen.
Yeah, Decanter had a crew of a couple Cub Bears in there with her, and they weren't very good. Deanna herself can be controversial at times. She can tend to be very picky with the whistle. But the two guys she had working the game with her, my God, where did they dig these guys
They
out
were
of?
Inconsistent, and that's it. Call it however you want to call it. Just stay consistent, and they weren't. I got to rant a minute here. NCAA, you have a problem. You need to work on this. This is, you want to know what's holding the game of women's basketball back? The officiating is it.
It is one of the prime suspects. It is. Because in case you take a look at this thing, a total of fouls in this game. They had a total of 34 fouls in 40 minutes. And that's high. Okay? And they were inconsistent in what they called.
Yeah.
A girl actually was up in the air and fell down on the top of Bianca Dunham, and they called Dunham for the foul for just standing there.
Yeah, and you compare that to the game just the previous night in the same building where you had Dwayne Sutton get called for a foul when a player tripped over him, backing up with Dwayne Sutton laying standstill on the floor. I mean, college basketball officiating, we've talked about it a lot. Officiating in general, it's just the inconsistency is the worst part. If everyone made the same bad calls, you'd still be frustrated that they're bad, but you'd at least understand.
You'd at least
know what you're playing for.
Right. Yeah, that's the problem, is the inconsistency, really. Yeah. Sorry, I kind of derailed where you were going.
No, that's fine. In fact, continue on with it if you want.
I'm not a big fan of Decanter. I know you generally hold her in pretty good regard.
I think she's the best of what we've got out there right now.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of damning with faint praise. Yes.
Yeah, it is.
All right, I can deal with that statement. Yes.
Because we ain't got a lot.
Yeah, she keeps control of the situation on the court pretty well. Now, I might have an issue with her trying to take control off the court too a little bit. I don't condone profanity-laced tirades coming from spectators, but I don't see how that affected what was going on the floor. If there was an issue with security in the arena and in the stands, let security deal with that. Decanter doesn't need to inject herself into that.
And I want to take a point of difference with you. When you have somebody who, in a family environment, is being obnoxious, is being profane, is being obscene, is being audibly heard by everybody in the section around him, and it's directed toward the officials, not any wide, broad-based spectrum, but at the officials. D, being an official, being the head of the officials, has got to take a look at this situation and say, we need to stop this guy.
No, I'm sorry. That's not her job. That is not her job to do that. If there's a problem with him being profane in this family environment, which I agree, then that's the job of the KFC Yum Center staff, the security staff there. That is not the job of the official on the court. They have Sean Moth read this statement before every game, about respecting players, fans, and officials. Fine, I get that. But if you're an official and you have people not respecting you, there was a lesson I learned in kindergarten that maybe they've forgotten. If you want to be respected, you need to be worthy of respect.
We'll take you back to kindergarten then. Okay, that's
Yeah,
fine.
I mean, but that's the thing. If they want to be respected as officials, they need to up their game because they're a problem right now.
However, the officials do have the power in any arena they call a game into, the ability and the power in their jurisdiction to throw someone out of a contest.
I agree, and they need that because if that person is somehow interfering with the game, they need to have that power. I do agree with that. I don't think that was the case here. This is why I have a problem with it.
Okay. So, Senator, you and I are on different sides of the aisle here.
Right.
Let's go to Case for a tiebreaker. What do you think, bud? Oh,
He doesn't want to answer.
We got the million-mile stare out of this guy.
I was trying to just stay over here and stay out of it. I think what we've seen in the past, in general, with basketball across all levels in the NBA, basketball is one of the most impacted sports by official and fan interaction. You see people yell at officials all the time on football fields, on soccer fields, at baseball diamonds. It happens everywhere. But the intimacy of a basketball game, in which there are a million moments in a single game where the referee is within, if the two people reached out, they could touch each other, right? And then that's the closest that they get. And so I understand that you can take offense. It may or may not be correct, but it's what happens in basketball games is that referees have those conversations with themselves internally, and they are the recipient of aggressive dialogue, and they react. I can understand both parts thinking that that's not their place or thinking that it is, but that's just the way that it is. And if you're in that position, you're probably going to react emotionally too, and you have the power to throw somebody out, and they do it. I think that a technical warning is probably the better solution to begin with. If you start with that, if that doesn't solve the problem, then the person gets thrown out. But they skipped that. They skipped
that. Do you
warning.
assess the team with the technical because of a fan's behavior?
Yes, you do, and it happens all the time. It happened to the Duke men's basketball program. Because you are a representative of the team as a fan.
Yep.
You're a representative of the home team, and that usually nips it in the bud. In this case, it was taken a step further. They skipped the warning. They went straight to the ejection, and that's just the way it goes.
So, D, if you're listening, then a bit of a suggestion for you next time an incident like this happens. Of course, D calling a technical on the Louisville bench would get Jeff Walls probably
Another one.
Then a bear without honey, and a second technical would soon follow.
Probably,
Okay.
yeah,
Yes.
but,
Anyway.
yeah.
So Jeff and I are on opposite sides of the aisle. Case hasn't even walked into the building yet with his decision. So there we are.
I've been trying to look at what I think is the real impact in this game, and Louisville won the second half by a point, and they lose the game because in the first half they shot 24% and they got doubled up on rebounds.
Yeah.
And you allowed the other team to out-rebound you by 13 rebounds, and you only shot 24%. You're not going to win games that way.
You need to fix one of those problems,
Yeah.
right?
We are
just
two
one
for
of them.
13.
Yeah.
2 for 13 from the floor in the second quarter.
If you're going to shoot badly, you need multiple chances at it, right? Or if you're going to shoot well, then offensive rebounding isn't that big a deal, right? So yeah, you need to do better in one of those categories.
But despite all the shooting woes that they had in the first half and everything else, they were able to come back and cut this thing to 2 points by the end of the third quarter. The Cards outscored them 23-16 in the third quarter
Well,
alone.
and then tied it to start the fourth.
Yeah.
Well, I'm getting there.
Okay.
Just
I'm sorry.
wait till
I'm
the light
sorry.
turns green. You're
Yeah.
good. Yeah, 17 points in the first half, 23 points in the third quarter. So they had cut it to 2. They had the KFC Yum Center rocking. They were doing all the special effects they got with those red lights and everything else. They were playing all the rock anthems for indoor arenas. And the crowd was loud vocal, and they were ready to get fired up and see the Cards continue trimming into that lead, maybe tying it, maybe taking the lead. They were fired up, and then all of a sudden, I don't know what happened in that fourth quarter huddle before it started. We got a basket, and then, boys, the bottom fell out of the basket. All right, Case, the light's green now. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happened because I was keeping up with this one, and then did turn it on when the fourth quarter started, and all of a sudden it fell apart. Like you said, you couldn't stop anybody. They couldn't hit a shot. There was a moment where Florida State went 2.5 minutes without scoring a basket and still extended their lead. I mean, you can't expect to win a game if you
What are we in the Twilight Zone?
you
here?
hold the opposing team to not score on like 4 or 5 straight possessions, and you can't cut into the lead at all. That's not. I don't know what happened. I don't know what went into the minds of the Louisville players who had just been on the emotional high of executing a fantastic comeback over the previous 11 minutes, and it is a very concerning thing. Looking forward for this team to be able to ride the emotional high of a big comeback like that on your home floor, have all of the momentum, and you just squander it immediately.
And Jeff, let me throw this at you. It was a 13-0 run by Florida State.
Yeah.
During that run, they hit 3 3-pointers.
Yep.
In that run. Now, they were previously 3 for 17 for the game from the 3-point line. So, in that brief stretch, they actually equaled their previous total for 3-pointers in the game. Of course, Gillespie hit one. We know how great she is. We saw that with 25 points and 13 rebounds. Another very good player for them, Akoma guard. She hit one of them. And then they also had another player who's not too bad at all, who goes by the name of Nausea. Well, yes, Nausea Wolfork did create nausea within the KFC Center with her teammates. So that to me was the key.
To be fair, Yasin Diop's brought hers in with her.
Yes. And then went back and deposited it back in the locker room later.
Brought her own nausea in there too. But yes. And I'm certainly obviously a hat tip to Yasin for playing in a situation where she clearly wasn't feeling well. She was
For getting to that.
right. Yeah. Understatement, right?
And outing her gut at the same time.
Literally outing her gut and gutting it out.
Yeah. A hat tip to her. But yeah, I mean, I was very impressed with Florida State.
When you run back to the locker room with a towel over your face, you're not trying to be the Lone Ranger.
Right. Yeah.
Okay,
I was very impressed with Florida State in their ball movement, and I think that contributed a lot to those threes. You get open looks out there. They're it's obviously a very good team, and I got to credit them for playing well and stopping us. We had one player you've seen that was playing not at 100% because she was ill. We had another player overseas.
I'm getting ready to
I know we're going to go into that, so I'm kind of setting the stage there.
Right.
And that does have an impact, but the credit to Florida State for coming out and playing a really good game.
After the 13-0 run, the Cards were never able to get closer than 6 points the rest of the way. The final on that one, 67-59. Louisville takes their first conference loss, the second loss of the season, and the loss also technically puts them in second place in the ACC since North Carolina State has played one more game than us.
Yeah.
But still has one loss. So
technically,
they have one
NC
more
State
win
leads
than
us, but we have a game in hand still. Yeah.
So okay, now we've cleared the table on that. Let's talk about the absence of E. Balagoon.
Yeah. First of all, congratulations on her for representing Nigeria, right?
Yes.
That right? Yeah.
Yes.
Nigeria in the national team getting international cap. I think I said earlier, I didn't realize she was an American going into this. I went, oh, hey, so okay, today I learned. I hadn't really looked into her background that much. So I think that her not being there has a fairly significant impact. Can you point at that and say that's why we lost the game? No. I think there's all kinds of factors that go into that. But it does have an impact. I think with respect, even if you look at what is her offensive contributions that we lose, like how many minutes on the court, number of points scored, I think there's an impact beyond that. And anytime you lose any player, I think that is contributing well, this is the case. Because you take options off the court when you lose a player like that. If Dana's not having a good day, if Jazz is not having a good day, maybe he does. Right, and they didn't, and maybe he does, right? If Kylie's not having a good day, maybe you can push it out to the not so tall players that are out there, the Jazz Dana committee, and take the game outside. When you take options off the court, you take weapons off the court. That has an impact. So I'm not going to point at that and say E not being there is why we lost. I'm not going to give her any grief for going and playing for her home country on the international stage, because that's awesome and amazing, and more power to her. But yeah, you got to look at that and say, yeah, that may have contributed to it, but it is what it is, and that's part of the game.
I'm going to go to you next on this case. I'm still building my argument here.
I think it's obviously a contributing factor when you've got a starter and your two of your first three subs off the bench as non-contributors. One because she's playing in international duty, one because she's injured, and one because she's very ill. That's tough. It happens. Teams are the benefactors of opposing teams' woes on pretty much every night. Louisville has been lucky to not face some star players over the last couple of weeks as well. So that is just how the chips fall sometimes. I do think it matters not having a player that you've been starting for the majority of the game so far this year, because in the event that Jazz Jones and Dana Evans are not going to shoot well, Louisville's probably not going to win games the majority of the time. They can usually weather one of those players not doing well, but having both of them struggle is going to be a problem. It doesn't matter who else is on the floor for Louisville. But I think that, and this is entirely speculation, right? Because you can't go back, you can't replay the game, you can't know what Elizabeth Balogun would have done. But if you have another guard option who is a shooter and can move the ball and can present those options, then maybe Jazz Jones and Dana Evans don't feel that they have to force it so much. Maybe they can get some more offensive movement on the ball and take shots that they're more comfortable with, or take some possessions where they don't feel they have to be the only offensive producer. So sure, it impacts the game, but I don't think that you say that you lost the game without her, because you still tied the game in the fourth quarter, and then you fell apart without it anyway. So
yeah, I think it lets the other team also key on the players that are remaining a little more, so it can change the way they play in how they respond to our team. So, and that's something that I don't think you see in the stat sheet as much.
Fact.
Your rebuttal.
My rebuttal, sir. Fact. She is the starter who plays the least minutes out of the five. She's usually the first one out of the game unless Jazz or somebody gets into early foul trouble. Normally it is Diop in for Balogun, okay? 20, 25 minutes a game for her. Yes, she does shoot the ball with a rather high percentage when she's in there. She doesn't take a lot of shots, but normally she's right around 50, 60% from the floor, which is fine, which is what you want. Okay. Fact. The Cards came back without her, without Diop, without Kono, and made this a game at the end of the third quarter, okay? How much would she have added to that? Like I say, we can't say for sure because she wasn't there, okay? But they did it without her. You play with who you have on the floor, okay? Who's to say she wouldn't have picked up 3 fouls in the first minute and had to sit the bench anyway, okay?
That's possible.
We don't know. We can't say for sure. But I think it is wrong to make the speculation that, if E had been here, we probably would have won this game, or we would have played a lot better. You can't say that because you don't know what was going to happen in that game. Let's face it, Florida State is a very strong defensive team.
Yeah.
And sometimes, give her all the love and credit in the world, E is a great defensive player, but sometimes she goes to sleep offensively.
And sometimes I think she goes to sleep defensively.
Yeah, she's long though, and as a long, tall guard, she can occasionally get those deflections and those blocks. But I don't think that you can take one element out of the sum total and say this is the reason you didn't win the game.
No.
Okay.
And I'm absolutely not doing that.
Okay. What I'm saying is that you play case with who you got on the court. And if she had been there, okay, fine. That would have been nice. But who's to say Jazz wouldn't have picked up 3 fouls? Who's to say that, Yossi would have got sick in pregame warm-ups and not even hit the court? Louisville lost this game not because Balogun was gone. They lost this game because they allowed a team in their arena go on a 13-0 run early in the fourth quarter. And that's why they lost that game, kids. That and plus the fact that they shot less than 35%.
Yeah, I want to be clear. I'm not saying that had Balogun been there, we would have won that game. I'm not going to make an absolute statement like that. I don't think anybody is crazy enough to do that. I think it gives us a better chance too. And it is a hypothetical. Because, like you said, we can't go back and replay it. And even if we did go back and replay Florida State with Balogun there, it's not going to be the same game. It's a different game. And okay, I completely get I completely get that you're saying, hey, we can't say this because it's a hypothetical. That's fine. But then you're also throwing out your own hypotheticals of saying,
That's
well,
true.
What if this happened in that case? And that's okay. That's part of being sports punditry.
Yeah.
Is you talk about hypotheticals.
Yeah.
The hypothetical, I think, is that had he been there, I think there's a decent chance that everyone would have played better because you have another weapon on the court. You force Florida State to adjust to that. You change the gameplay. You change the scouting report. Was it enough to win the game?
Sure.
I don't know. Could we have won the game without her? I think clearly. I think we saw everybody in the arena and watching on TV saw how we played, and it wasn't up to the usual UofL standards. So, yeah, I think possibly. And I think there was a very real possibility we could have won that, particularly given that they did tie it up in the fourth quarter. So, yeah, I think we're violently agreeing here, basically.
I like the term.
Yeah, just stylistically different.
We're not on either side of the aisle. We're in the middle of the aisle throwing the haymakers at each other. Okay. But we've talked enough. This is probably the most we've ever talked about a loss that I can remember in the history of our radio.
I want to point out
Here
one
comes
thing.
Case with more still.
I just want to defend Elizabeth Balogun because you took a shot at her just statistically, you took a shot at her with the amount of minutes she plays as a starter. In conference play, Elizabeth Balogun is second on the team in blocks. She's fifth on the team in steals. She's third on the team in assists. She is fourth on the team in average points and third on the team in average rebounds. She is a significant contributor.
Oh, yeah.
She's a starter. Of course
right,
she is.
Regardless of, that she's the first player off the bench. And that's all I want to say. I just don't want to sell her short. I agree with you that, there's all other things considered. Yeah. You tied the game in the fourth quarter. You play with who you have. It doesn't matter that she wasn't there in the long game, but I just didn't want to sell her short.
Look at your stats. How many of those stat categories is she the leader in?
None.
Okay.
Well, I mean, the stats that she's the best in, she's the
Somebody's
best
gotta
guard.
be a leader.
She's the best guard in a couple of stats. She's the best guard in rebounds.
We've
She's the
done
second
this
best
long
guard in
enough,
rebounds and the best guard in blocks.
Yeah.
I mean, it matters.
This bakery is closed. Go down the street to the coffee shop. We're done talking about a loss.
There's one right by the entrance here.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's a good one, too.
Yeah, it is. Right.
We can advertise them. What the
Yeah,
hell?
yeah.
Quillos, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can hit them up for some money. All right, other basketball news, if there is any, as the e-bait continues. Not like that.
The e-bait. That's good.
E-bait.
Yeah.
We get information from the University of Louisville that Dana Evans has yet received another significant award watch list nomination here on the Don Staley Award watch list.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of 15 players named to this list. It's an award that's pretty much, guess who it's named after?
Don Staley.
Gee, Don Staley, we'll figure that. Given to a player who exemplifies the skills that Don possessed throughout her career.
Yeah.
Ball handling, scoring, her ability to distribute the basketball, and her will to win.
Heck of a great guard.
Doesn't talk anything about her coaching career. Just what she did on the court when she was a player. One of 15, Dana is. Other names of significance that are on there, Ryan Howard.
Yeah.
We know her quite well from the University
deserved.
of Kentucky.
Yeah.
Also Sabrina Ionescu.
Certainly deserved. Yeah.
Certainly that fantastic guard from the University of Oregon. Just a couple of the 50 that are on that list. So congratulations to Dana on that. You get one more. And Mr. Evans, if you're building a trophy case, you better put an addition on it because it's getting bigger and bigger all the time. Cards will go back into action, as we mentioned here quickly earlier, on Sunday as they travel up to the Carrier Dome. And guess who they're facing up there, Jeff?
Q!
That's right.
Yay!
The man of 1,000 faces and expressions, and unfortunately, let's not forget the outfits. Unfortunately, Casey has a team right now that is at 11-11 and 5-6 in conference play.
Yeah, it's been a struggle for Syracuse the last couple of years, and Louisville has typically looked at this as one of those interesting games where you can probably expect a win, but it's going to be one of those tough ones just because of who the coach is. A game that you expect to win, but after a game against Florida State where you were roundly handled on your home court, You never know. So it may be better for them to get out of their own heads and get out of Louisville after the beatdown by Team USA and then the collapse against Florida State. But we'll see what they have when they head up to Syracuse tomorrow.
Or as our good friend Arthur says, it could be worse for you guys. You could be Clemson.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
kind of a
We
sad
thought
collapse.
Clemson was going to do better this year.
We all did.
Oh.
You know, this is the second year of Amanda's
I
reign
see.
down there. They had a lot of starters back. It really looked like they were going to make the tournament, and then all of a sudden, wow.
A bit of a tangent while we're speaking about Clemson, and I'm looking at softball on your phone. Clemson, their inaugural season in softball is
That's
this
right.
year.
The
Yeah.
Cards don't play them this year.
No.
But it is their inaugural season.
Yeah, so cool. Welcome to the club and the softball club.
That's
Clemson.
right. Get ready for those $2 bills to hit your
That's right.
softball stadium. And just a quick update for you all on that game that's going on right now. Currently, Texas
have to?
State is taking it to the Cards 5-0 here in the 6th inning. So get those bats out in Louisville, please.
Oh, Cards just scored.
Woohoo.
5-1 now.
Yes, it didn't come
Not
up.
yet.
No, it didn't come up on my phone.
The stream's always slower.
Okay.
There's always a delay.
So I'm guessing that runner is this going to be? No.
It's us batting. Yeah. I
I
think.
couldn't tell you, Paul.
No.
I think my stream's ahead of yours because my scoreboard is
got-
showing
it's
5 to
got-
1.
It's got to be. We got the bases loaded now. Okay.
Oh, no,
anyway,
no, no,
I
yeah, you're
never
way
thought
behind.
that-
You're a couple minutes behind on that. Then. Okay.
Well, welcome to my life.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, the stream is not you.
The
Yeah.
Cards.
I'll give you that.
I
one.
think it's both, Jeff.
Well, maybe, but
The Cards.
I'm not going to make that climb.
Yeah. The Cards yesterday got the season started, though, playing 2 games down in Clearwater, Florida. They beat number 21 ranked Ole Miss. Yes,
Great
they
start.
did. A great start for them, 4-2.
Really
Taylor-
great start with the first at bat of the season being a home run.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got to love that. That being, they opened the scoring behind Taylor Roby's solo home run in the 2nd inning.
No, she's not top of the line. So this was second batter of the season.
No, she was in the 2nd inning.
It was in the 2nd
I was
inning.
in the second inning.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, I was not able to watch it. I was trying to catch up on Twitter, so
Yeah.
I didn't miss that.
And
I thought it was
I
top.
didn't start tweeting on it until the 2nd inning yesterday.
Okay,
but-
so maybe that's where I got confused. All right.
But anyway, yeah, a great start for the
It
Cards.
was her first at bat. You're still right, Jeff. It's okay.
It
was-
You could be
it was her
partially
first
correct.
bat.
I mean, credit to her. I initially thought it was like the first at bat
You
of the
done good,
season for
Taylor.
the team, but no, that's Celine Funky is the top of the lineup. So.
How about freshman Jenna Sarvey? Went 2 for
Yeah.
3 with a run. Taylor Roby fantastic on the mound. Nice relief by Chardonnay Harris, who picked up the save. And Caitlin Ferguson had a home run as well.
Yep.
As the Cards upset Ole Miss 4-2. And that got you up a little bit for the second game. Louisville started out well in the second game of the day case as they ended up playing Baylor, the Bears. Kim Mulkey was not there. Brittany Griner was not there. But still, the Bears win 7-4. You wrote this one up a little bit. I'll let you take the accounts and description of the second game.
Yeah, just to start off in the first game, really interesting game from the Louisville offense. They score on 2 home runs, they score on a double steal, and they score on an infield single. So the offense really showing that they can do pretty much everything. They picked that up in the second game as well, scoring off of triple by Celine Funky, who was silent in that first game but didn't need to be as there was a win.
Like
Selena, triple?
a triple from Celine? No.
Surely you just.
You don't say. Who was then brought in by fellow senior Caitlin Ferguson, picking up her second RBI of the day. So Louisville jumps out to a lead in the second inning, just like they did against Ole Miss, and maintained that lead into the third inning, taking a 3-1 lead in the top of the third before just a struggle that we've seen from pitching and defense. It just seems to happen to Louisville in just inning waves. It won't happen generally for whole games. It just happens for an inning. They gave up 2 hits, 3 walks, an error, and all of a sudden Baylor scores 3 runs and takes the lead, 4-3. Louisville was able to get that back on that previously mentioned Celine Funky triple, and they tie it back at 4-4 before going to the 6th inning and having a very similar event where they have five hits and a walk or 5 hits and an error. And Baylor scores 3 more runs, and that's all she wrote for that one. Louisville got a couple of runners on base there in the top of the 7th, but couldn't get anything going and fall 7-4 to go to 1-1 on the year, and hopefully can avoid 1-2 on the year, but not looking great against Texas State right now.
Yeah, unfortunately, action has started today in the Cards on the short end of a 0-5 score against Texas State, which is another one of those redundant schools. Of course, Texas is a state. What did you think they were, a principality? An island out in the Pacific? Duh. Like Kentucky State. Yeah, like Illinois State. Well, never mind. I won't go on the states anymore. Let's go ahead and move on to other sports that are going on campus, and we do have one beginning tomorrow. Mr. Anderson, Jared, and I will be making the trip up to the Queen City to watch the opening lacrosse game of the year for Louisville. They take on the Bearcats. Be ready, Bearcats. We're coming to your town. I've already been told I cannot go into the press box. I am media, but I cannot be in the press box. Because there was all kinds of other people up there doing official things. No room.
You're not official.
No, I'm far from official. Yeah, I'm no deputy.
I think they're actually just mad that Louisville leads the all-time series 12-0.
And then we beat them the last 2 years. and they're like, what, they're sending media up here? Well, charge them extra at the concession stand and don't let them in the press box. But we've already cleared all this. Our great SID for that sport, as well as women's basketball, Nick Evans. We have to pick up passes even though it's a free event. We've already arranged to talk with Scott Teeter and selected players after the game. Win or lose, I like the Cards' chances on this one, as they actually won this thing last year against Cincinnati 15-9. And then when they played them 2 years ago, they also beat them and did a good job in doing that one, as they ended up beating them by a total score of 18-12. The Cards are 12-0.
Paul, you're just not talking to the mic at all.
I'm sorry, I was looking at other things.
You're just talking over, looking at your papers, just talking to the side of the mic as if it's not even there.
I'm getting rudimentary instructions on how to perform my duties in here, which are probably needed given me the series history, though. The Cards are 12-0 lifetime against the Bearcats. Guess what? They're 6-0 at home. Where are they at on the road, Jeff?
Gee, math, gosh.
Nice.
Yeah.
We certainly hope to see this Cardinal team go up there and do a great job, as Scott Teeter has brought in his biggest roster ever.
Yeah.
Got some certainly very talented players back in the Blaylock sisters.
That's right.
Brianna Shanahan.
Awards attention as well. Caroline Blaylock.
Yes, she is, getting some nice awards. We certainly also have a very, very sturdy and firm defense as well. So just come out, kind of thoughts about this, Jeff?
I'm excited to get the season underway. It's a lot of fun to watch lacrosse. If you like basketball, interestingly, you'll probably like lacrosse because it's a lot of the same movements and motions. We've talked about that some. I'm excited to see where this team grows. Scott Teeter's first year last year was rough, obviously rebuilding a little bit. Hope to see some improvement with it. Not expecting a national title quite yet, but hey, let's see some improvement. It's great.
Let us not forget for 1 minute, Case, that we are playing in the best lacrosse conference in the universe and in other neighboring planets, the ACC, where everybody makes the NCAA tournament except sometimes Louisville. But certainly a very, very tough conference to be a participant in, bud.
A non-revenue women's sport that the ACC is fantastic at. I can't believe such a thing would happen.
That's right, yeah.
Go figure.
It's amazing how that works.
Yeah, and what other stat that I saw that struck me while looking at the Go Cards preview for this game tomorrow is Louisville is 9-3 in season openers all time.
All right.
And we're 9-2 before having to face the Northwestern Wildcats that we don't talk about last season to open the year. So they went 5-13 last year. It was a rough year for the Cards, but hopefully they can bounce that back and finally get on track as a program, back to the winning ways that we were used to seeing before running into the buzzsaw that we brought upon ourselves by joining the ACC.
And, Jeff, I don't mean to be this derogatory or mean-spirited in any way, but we're still 0 for ACC.
We really are, aren't we? Yeah.
In the 2 years that we've been playing ACC conference in lacrosse,
wow,
we got nothing.
Yeah, and that's part of the growth of the team and of the program. And it took a hit a couple of years ago. I think the culture's on the right track at this point. I think we're seing building, and that's what, like I said, is one of the things I'm really excited to see this year is to see the growth. We're not gonna go to the national championship, but be shocked if we did, right? But let's see. I just want to see improvement. Year-over-year improvement is what I always look for in things like this, and I'm excited because I think we will.
And this is a team that is totally teeters now. I don't want to make
pretty
any
much.
references on them, but any past vestiges of players under the current or the previous coach in Kelly Young are gone. It's
Yeah.
all Teeter recruited, all Teeter
Yeah.
transferred in, all Teeter's responsibility for the first year. So
And pretty young as part of that.
A young
too.
bunch
Yeah,
indeed.
a bunch of freshmen and sophomores. There are some juniors and seniors in the mix, but not many. So yeah,
Louisville will come back home after that, of course, and then end up playing their first game of the year on Saturday, February the 15th, as they bring in the Denver.
Broncos.
no,
No, not the Broncos. Not the Nuggets.
Not the Rockies or the Avalanche either, I assume.
Neither.
I'm drawing a blank. I don't know.
The Pioneers.
Pioneers. Okay.
The Denver
Sounds
Pioneers.
Do you think they'll play in the snow for the third year in a row? Because the last 2 years we went to Denver and played
Yeah.
in the snow.
Probably.
And that was so weird because the snow out there last year didn't start until pregame was over.
Oh,
And then it started coming down just in bucket.
During
I mean,
the game, wow.
Peter was showing me a video of it last year up in his office. Just,
Wow.
look, pregame, dry field, introductions. Yeah, it's snowing pretty hard now. We're going out to midfield.
Whiteout.
It's blanketed. Yeah.
wow.
So trying to find a lacrosse ball in the snow. Well,
Fortunately, they're yellow.
yeah, they are yellow,
Yeah.
but still, is that where the dog left his
That's
business,
right.
or is that the
Yeah.
ball? I don't know. You tell me. Best of luck to them up there.
Absolutely.
We'll be up there. Jared will be taking pictures. I'll be doing post-game interviews. We'll get
Great.
the report for you. We'll have it
Awesome.
up for you on Monday's Cardinal Couple Edition. The results on that one. Busy Monday article because I'm going to have basketball to talk about. We're going to have softball to talk about. Also lacrosse as well. So
Be busy.
yeah. So guys, with that in mind, it's already 12:01.
I know.
Where does time go?
We don't have a hard.
We
stop
argued
anymore,
about basketball a lot today.
We did.
Yes, we did. One game in particular. Well, actually, two games. But
Yeah.
so, but then again, you give the people what they want, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They're probably not tuning in just to hear us talk about lacrosse. Let's be brutally honestic here, although we love to talk about lacrosse. With that in mind, let's get into some final thoughts, shall we?
Yeah, I'll jump in real quick. We kind of laughed about Celine Funky hitting a triple. So I went and quickly looked up final stats from last season. She did lead the league significantly. She had 58 triples last year.
How many?
58.
No.
Yeah,
There is no way she had 58 triples.
that's what it says. It's all right on my
Maybe
screen.
for her career.
Triples.
No, they're off. It's 13.
Oh, it's offset. Okay.
Yeah.
No, you're
58
right.
games, 13 triples.
Okay.
That sounds a little
Yes.
more potable. Yeah.
That I missed that offset. Thank you, Case.
58
Still,
triples would have been a triple a game.
yeah.
Woo.
Still, nonetheless, she had
That's a huge number.
She did not lead the per game triples category. There was somebody who had
no it is.
6 in far fewer, but she was
Oh,
she had more raw. She hit a lot of triples, and she's already on
Yeah.
track with that in the second game.
And my sly remark to her at the banquet they had, triples are great. Can you just hit it a little further and maybe over the
I know,
fence?
right? Yeah, yeah.
Just
She
run
said, "I'm
faster,
working on-"
Celine.
She
You
said,
can
I'm
get
working on that.
in the park home run.
She does have the most per game, I think. Am I reading this wrong?
Oh no,
Well,
Jeff's
the boys
right. I was
review their
misreading,
reading
sorry.
skills. Yeah, let's-
0.22 triples per game.
Yeah.
The next highest was 0.21, but that was in significantly fewer games. She had 13 total for the season. The next highest was 10.
There you go.
So, yeah.
Our own Celine Funky
Yep.
out there stopping at third.
There's a weird offset on that graph, yes.
It is.
Table.
But you're the IT guy. You should be able to read this stuff. All right, let's go to final thoughts. Let's start with Case while Jeff tries to figure out his laptop.
Oh, that was my last final thought.
Oh,
so-
that was your final thought?
Yeah, I was jumping in.
He does his final thought on Celine Funky. All right. What you got, Case?
Yeah, just take a look at my reflection on the loss of Gigi Bryant in today's article. It's short. I don't feel like expounding on it here, but take a look, see if you agree, see if you don't. I'm happy to hear from other people. So that's my thought on it. That's my final thought. Take a look at today's article. Give that a read.
And to back that up fully and wholeheartedly, please read this article.
Yeah.
Because Case came in and just dropped the mic on it. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff indeed.
Absolutely. Agreed.
On my final thoughts, a couple of queries I have in my mind. First of all, can we go to Syracuse and play women's basketball successfully enough against one of our arch rivals and against a guy you just can't help but love in Q Hilsman? On Sunday, we'll certainly be tracking that out a little bit. Also, another one, too, here as far as what is proper decorum at a basketball game, okay? We had an incident. Jeff and I discussed it at length.
Mhm.
If you're a fan, be a fan that is quick to praise, slow to boo, quick to be positive, slow to be negative. Support your team wholeheartedly, but don't denigrate the other team, and respect the officials for the job that they are hired to do. It may not be to your satisfaction. It may not be to the whole crowd's satisfaction, but yet they are the ones who are out there who have been invested with the responsibility of calling the game. So be slow to boo the officials too. And I know some people's hair on the back of their neck will stand up when I say that, but they are there to do a job. Let the people do their job, okay? And that's what I got for you. So thanks for joining in with us. We'll catch you next week, as far as I know, as far as Jeff knows, here at the Louisville Free Public Library Northeastern Branch. See you. Have a great weekend.